Welcome in, world. I'm DJ Ski, joined by the man, the myth, the legend. My brother Lupe Fiasco is in here. Make some noise, ladies and gentlemen. How are you?
I'm good, man.
So it's almost the big day. I mean, I guess it depends on what part of the world you're in. Some people it's already officially out. Others it's, hours away. I'm talking about Tetsuo Youth. And it seems like this has, been a really long process for you to actually come out. I mean, we've seen so many different, records, variations of the track listings, and now, what made now the right time to put it out?
Oh man, anonymous. No joke. It all goes to we always had the album in one shape or another, and since we never had like a release date. And it wasn't like no inklings to get a release date. We really didn't feel like we needed to have a solid final piece because we didn't know if it was ever going to come out. So we always had the album in the chamber.
You never knew it was going to come out.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't think it was. I was like, it's not coming out. And that's why we started to do a little Lost in Atlantic weekly, kind of drop a song every week. It makes sense. But I tell you, busy. Everybody in the studio, I was like, yo, this album's not coming out. It's just.
You didn't think it was?
Yeah, I knew it wasn't. I knew it was one of those things where it was like, the big wigs up top, they playing the stall game, see who cracked first,
I wouldn't play that game with you.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't want to play that game either. But, it's funny It's funny the relationships and the people who support you in the shadows that you never knew about would just kind of come up and, raise an iron hand and, and in less than 12 hours you get a release date and get a release from your record contract, which is like, oh, this is like birthday, So this day today is very special, man. The day it leaked was very special to me. It was like, man, even the leak, I knew it was gonna leak. I was like, all right, whatever, that's like the birthday. But now to kind of have it physically in my hands and, everything that this represents and, this is 15 years of MCing, and then like another, 5-10 years of, slavery at a record company, and then for this to be your freedom, to be this, I painted the album cover, me and my homies in the studio all night putting the songs together. My best friends is recording with me and at the boards. It's just like, it's a beautiful thing.
How do you feel about the album, being that it went through so many different, incarceration? You had these, different singles that came out at different times that are nowhere to be found on here now. Is this project musically, to your ears, exactly what you want it to be today?
Yeah, with the exception of a couple. I'm not going to tell you which ones they are, that I would
we'll wait for it to be out in a little while.
Replaced into something else. But yes, I said on Twitter it was my least flawed album, out of everything I've done, and we came to the conclusion where it was like, I'm at the state of my career where, I'm not gonna get played on the radio. I really got to go out the box and really do some crazy collab and to get Lupe Fiasco on the radio. So that's not gonna happen. I'm not the beloved MC, that people are just checking for and standing in line for, So it's like, I was just like, I'm not gonna have none of that just word of mouth. I'm not gonna have that radio. I'm not gonna have that pop. I'm not finna be on TV. I'm not finna have these looks. So it's like, we just finna go hard then. Like, I'm gonna just do what I do best, which is just lyrics, and lyrics on top of lyrics on top of lyrics on top of lyrics. And, it worked. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we rock with that, Lupe. We like that. So it was just taking into consideration. I knew I wasn't gonna get the looks. I never got the looks. I've never really had the looks. And then dealing with the label, I knew they weren't gonna give them to me. I know where I am at on their priority list. So it's like, why waste it? Why try and do a bunch of radio records, try and do a bunch of club records, to even chase that when it's not there? So I just stick to what I know best.
Do you feel like you need those things with you being who you are at this time of your life, with your career, with your fan base who likes you for that, and they're quick to tell you when they don't like a single, when they're feeling like it was something else? Do you feel like, with today in 2015, do you even need those radio singles to succeed? Do you even need, like, do those really make a huge difference for someone like yourself?
I don't know, it depends. We've had our biggest successes with radio records, you know. You know, that's what pays the bills and, you know, send my little sisters to school and stuff like that. At the same time, too, I think I'm just at a place in my life as a person where artistically, I'm so just free, you know, that I don't really care. You know, I don't really care about the radio. I don't really care about the reviewers. I don't care about the bloggers. You know, it's like I got 16 fans that I pointed out. They don't even know who they are, that I just lurk and look at. And I make songs for them. You know?
And how did you find those 16?
They've been around.
Okay.
You know, and it's more to kind of just make sure they happy. And as
Probably
long as
here right now, I'm sure one of them.
There may be one or two in there. Watching, definitely a couple watching.
Yes.
You know, but like my man Bishop G, you know, who's my boy. You know, we started rapping together. Every time I go back to Chicago, I go straight to his house, and I have my laptop on my iPad, and I'll just play him every song that I did in the past month, just to get his
gauge.
And if he's happy, then I'm good, you know. And then go off to the next 15 and just kind of, you dig, y'all cool, everybody? All right, cool, I'm done, you know. So it's not about millions of fans. It's not about selling a bunch of records. It's not about being on the radio. It's about just doing the best art that I can make.
Was that frustrating for you, going through those phases? And, you know, I'm sure, like you said, the radio records pay your bills. All these things make you bigger than life. Is it frustrating when you don't get that support? Or are you like, man, like, how did you get over, I guess, that feeling of, you know, we have to have this, and getting to the point where you are today, comfortable with where you are and appealing to those 16 fans, to your, you know, OG home, like to that whole crowd that's always been with you?
You gotta really, you really gotta break yourself down to the barest essentials, you know, and you really gotta kind of, like, just accept it. Like, yeah, you hate me. Like, half the world hates me. Yeah. You know, there are people come up with the wildest excuses to say that I'm ineligible, I'm whack, or I'm this, and it will have nothing to do with anything. I've had people, they couldn't find anything wrong with the show, so they had to go to my shoes. You know, and there's people who couldn't find anything wrong with the song, so they had to talk about my hair. You know, it's just like, and then once you accept that for what it is, that there's a certain amount of people that are always going to be like that, no matter what you do. And if I look back through my history, it really had to turn around and was like, you've always been the black sheep. You've always been the outcast. Since high school, you had dudes who just wanted to fight you because they didn't like the way you wore your glasses, and they wanted to fight you, you know. Me and Bishop G, my man, we first met because he wanted to fight me. Walked into class, yo, who are you? Nigga, who are you? But it, you know, it's just when you embrace it and accept it, and then you just send it back at them. Yeah. You know, it was like, I know you don't like me, I don't fuck with you either.
Is that why you always retweet people that, you know, I always see the negative comments. I'm like, who's hating on Lupe in my timeline? And then I look, I'm like, oh, it's Lupe. He's retweeting somebody to say,
you know, because you know, I don't do Twitter anymore.
So you're totally done. I saw you had your tweet last week.
Because I hit that bottom. It's like, let me eat all of this negativity. Let me eat all this nonsense. Let me eat all the hearsay. Let me just take it and just max out. And then you just burn out from it, you know. And luckily, I'm still at a level, you know, when I rap because I love to rap. Yeah. So even if I didn't have a record deal, if I didn't have anything, like I didn't go to college because I wanted to rap, you know. Me and Bishop G made a pact, like, yo, if we don't make it rapping, we're going to work at the post office, you know. And it was like, we writing raps all day, 12 hours a day, go home, you know, stay up, go to school, write the rap the rap that you wrote the night before, and do that for the next 16 weeks type situation. So, you know, for me, it's about just the love of the art, you know, the love of putting words together. And like I said, luckily I'm because I think I came in with that already, and I didn't need validation from a record company. This is my third record deal. You know, I got my first record deal when I was 19. So I've seen it all. I've been through it all. The people that we've put in positions, and the things we've seen, and the projects that we've been behind that we've never taken credit for. You know, it's crazy to blow your mind. When the memoirs come out, you'll be like, oh my God. But, you know, I have a different drive. You know, it's to create the best rap that I can possibly create, even if no one understands it but me. you know. So it's a little piece of that, you know, a little bit.
You said something about art, and what I've got from listening to this album over the weekend, and even looking at it and seeing the cover art. I mean, I guess first up, let's talk about the cover art. You said you painted this yourself.
Yeah.
So what does it represent, mean, or is that just for everybody to kind of discover on their own? Because I think it's one of, you know, my favorite covers of recent memories. I really, really like the style. Like, what's the whole meaning behind it? Because I'm sitting there trying to answer. What does it mean? What does it represent?
Well, we broke it down on my, you know, I used to do something on Twitter called Philosophy Sunday, and every Sunday we would pick a topic and break it down over like a course of an hour. So the last one, and which was actually the final one, we did the album cover. So the painting is called A Man-Eating Tiger, and it was basically like just this abstraction of like, is it a man eating a tiger? Or is it a man eating tiger and he's like devouring the guy? So you got like the blood and the flesh, and you know, that's the tiger kind of right there. Very abstract type of piece. But this is almost like if I could visualize my raps, they would look like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a formula and there's meaning and there's different levels and different word associations and different contexts and different things that are in there. And it was just like, you know, we were working with my homie, shout to No Use, and was coming up with like a whole different color scheme and a different theme and a whole thing for the album. And I was just like, nah, that's not it. That's not it. And I paint a lot. And this was the only painting that I didn't have like in storage, and it was just sitting on the couch. And I was like, I gotta get a cover. Yo, you're the cover. You know, and it was that simple. But you know, it's definitely a lot of, you know, from front to back. I wanted from the title to the cover to the song titles to everything. I wanted to make sure that this album was just so deep, you know, and such an experience for my fans who like that, you know, who want to have that. What does this mean? What does that mean? What does this say? How does this relate to that? You know, so it was dope. And it's cool. This is my first, you know, painting my own album cover. That's
awesome. That painting's going to go for some money now.
Yeah, we actually going to display it. Actually starting next Sunday at the Soho House, Chicago. So we're gonna have a little exhibition of all my paintings there. So if you're in Chicago, the Soho House, come on down. It'll be up for like a month.
Not a bad look.
Yeah.
So that might be a new endeavor for you in the painting world, the art world.
It's my release. I said I paint more than I rap now.
Wow.
You know, which is kind of crazy. It's like me out of the fray of the nonsense.
Yeah.
Sitting back, catching a hobby, and it just happened to be painting. So. You know.
No, I'd say that the album, almost, I think that's the perfect album art for this project, because when you feel, I mean, this looks like a painting that's straight out of a gallery, like you said. And when you get to the album, I mean, the first thing you're hit with is the interludes. You have these interludes, summer, fall, spring, winter. And even, I mean, we'll get into the records in a second, but it really feels like, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. I guess we're in the era, in a weird way, of the album being dead. It's all about singles. It's all about different projects and mixtapes. And this is beyond an album. It's really, it almost feels bigger than that. It's like this huge body of work. What's the whole, I guess, how does all this stuff really connect in your mind? And then break down the seasons concept of these little like interludes that you have, I guess.
Oh man, I didn't want to get too deep into it because I didn't want to ruin it for people. But the 16 have already heard it.
Yep.
So if you were figuring out if you're one of the 16 or not, if you already heard the album, you're one of the 16. But I wanted to have, like, for me, you know, I guess the best way to explain it out is to just explain what it is. So like the interludes for me, you know, they're like palate cleansers. You know, it's like sonic palate cleansers. Like you sit in a room and you just like, you have to cleanse your, like it was weird because I used to wake up, and when you first wake up and listen to like a beat that I was listening to the night before, my ears, it wasn't as dope as it was the night before. And I had to play something before it to get into that beat again. You know, I had to either play something that was slower, real talk, I had to play like a beat that was like a slower BPM, and then listen to the beat that I heard before to kind of cleanse my mind of some way. So I was like, I wonder if other people are like that. I wonder if that's like real shit, or if I'm just like kind of jerking myself off. But it was, the interludes became like palate cleansers to get you set up for the album, to calm you down, to clear your mind, and then here comes your mural. You know, here comes the first section of the album. You know, and then we're getting ready to go into another piece. I want you to forget all of those beats, get lost in this kind of interlude, figure out what that is, what's going on, and then let's come with the second half of the album. You know, and then I want you to have a certain level of tension. So So here comes winter, you know, and change the mood of things and kind of forget what just happened, you know, because I feel like if you go from no scratches directly into chopper, no scratches is slow, it's very groovy. So I needed something in there to kind of cleanse that palette, the groovy palette, and get you set up for, you know, the ratchetness of chopper, so to speak. You know, so it's a method to the madness, just as a functional piece. Like those interludes act as kind of sonic palette cleansers. And if you really let it happen, it does. People don't believe that shit. They're like, yo, man, if they give you you know how they give you sorbet in between your meal to like cleanse your palate, really high-end restaurants, because that shit works. You know,
you're eating right, man.
So, you know, that's basically what they stand for. But there's another layer to that too, where I wanted the album to play over the course of a year. You know, so that's why you get summer, you know, spring, then summer, fall, winter, then spring. But then there's the idea of youth. So it comes back to like the album title, Tetsuo Youth. And people are like, yo, is Tetsuo like Tetsuo from Akira? Like, what's the album mean? What's this? And for me, it was just like a working title concept. So the title of Youth is, I wanted to just write about youth and children, you know, and their experiences, because I feel like I'm a child. Like, you know, I miss my youth. I wish I had a different path when I was younger. So that's why when you hear summer, it's kids playing in the background. You know, and then you hear fall, it's kids kind of like raking leaves and playing and the reminiscent of things that we used to do in the fall. And then winter, there's no kids. You know, it's like clear the streets. You know, it's a blizzard, you know.
Chicago, man.
And then you get that chopper, Deliver Madonna, you get these very heavy records. And then you get spring again, you know, you come back out, the kids are back out playing again. You know, so if people want to know what the youth meant in the title, it's in the interludes. You know, it's those kids and then the absence of kids, you know, youth and the absence of youth, so.
I'm a big believer that seasons, you know, really, like I listen to different music in different seasons. Is the album, in your mind, segmented like these are the spring, these are the summer records, these are the fall? Is it kind of formatted like that, or is it just the overall feeling when you went in and made this and sequenced it?
It was. Me and Busy sat down. Shout out to DJ Busy.
Yeah.
Me and him sat down for days and weeks, figuring out that issue, that sequence issue, and then there was a lot of songs that didn't make the album, and there were joints that were like, oh, that's definitely a summer record, you know, so let's put that in summer, you know. Or that's definitely a cold winter record. Okay, let's put that in winter. So we was definitely kind of playing with just the feel of records, and then trying to keep it consistent. You know, for me, the album doesn't begin until fall. You know, so for me, what I am most proud of in this record doesn't begin until fall.
Those are my favorite records too.
So that whole fall to winter is like, I want that to be in the middle. So it was like, I wanted to maintain certain narratives. You know, and so we use the seasons to kind of contain those narratives, and so they didn't bleed over into other things. You know, so it didn't become like, oh, those two records sound crazy together. These two records sound crazy together. So there's like I said, the interludes have a functional thing musically to kind of separate the feel of certain songs from other songs, so it doesn't just become this weird. Oh, why they play this? And then it was like, now we forced to keep records that have the same groove within the same space. You know, so that's why you have like A Little Death right into a No Scratches, which have the same groove and the same feel. You know, so it was a lot of thought went into it, but it was definitely like 17 or 18 different variations of the album. You know, putting it together, listening to it, didn't work, go back to the drawing board type thing.
Now, speaking of those variations of the album, I know. Originally, I mean, I guess not even originally, because I don't even know what originally would be, but you had features from Ed Sheeran, Chris, I mean, Ty, and even on the production tip, like looking, I was looking through the booklet, seeing who produced it, and I'm like, I know a lot of those guys, but they're not the big hot producers that not that, they're just, when you think of, you know, the huge producer name value right there, you kind of went with the, I guess not the underdogs, but like some of the lesser known at this moment. What's kind of your thought process? Because most artists, if you get a record from, I mean, you're talking Ed Sheeran, who beyond, obviously, you know, worldwide, his star appeal, just having that name there. Right. Chris Brown, Ties, and to take those off, what was kind of your thought process on what actually made the album and why you kind of chose this route?
Well, we were stuck to 12 records.
Okay.
You know, so that was like our cap. was like, you have to make 12 records, you know. And I think we talked about that in our last interview. It was like, 12 records. And then it was like, okay, well, the story that I want to tell with 12 records, this record's just not going to fit size-wise. Like, it's not going to work. So, we got to take that off. And then we wound up finding out that we had like 2 or 3 or 4 records that sounded the same, and it was kind of like, is this really telling the story that we want to tell? And then we got to a point where it was literally, we had a huge pop album with some radio bangers, and then we had this album, over here, and it was kind of like, which one do we go with? And it was like, we go with this album.
Yeah. That's got to be a tough decision, though, too. I mean, like we were talking about earlier about getting the radio record, getting the big record, and to just go with kind of your gut and what's stayed true. I mean, I'm sure you faced pushback and things with that.
This wasn't coming out. That's the overarching thing of it, where it's like, yo, this was not meant to come out in whatever fashion it came. And then the as far as like on the production side, like I feel S1 is kind of a big name producer.
Yeah, S1's I know. No, but you know what I mean.
He's kind of a big deal.
S1, look at that. Oh, dope. I mean, you got Buchanan. You got some dope.
Buchanan's are kind of like my go-to homies.
They're awesome.
Dahi is definitely one of the, when other producers respect a producer, you're a big producer. Yeah. Radio hits one thing, big huge records is one thing, but when other producers bow down to your skills and talents, and unilaterally across the board, people bow down to Dahi. They give him his props, and he came with it. And it was literally like, he sent me a beat tape, and I was like, I want that. Send me another beat tape, I want that. Send me another beat, I want that. I want that. I want that. I want that. We did like 7, 8 records. And same thing with S1. I have like 25 S1 records.
So what happens to the rest of those?
They find their way. They find their way in this world, like most things do. Some stuff is just like, if it's just gonna exist in the drive and never come out. Certain joints we trying to politic to get them out, because people really like the Chris Brown record, the Crack record. We trying to get that out. But you performed it on the show. People were going crazy for it. Kids are still going crazy. Kids are still trying to find ways to put it in the track listing. I'm like, if you can find a way to put it in there and make it sound right, knock yourself out. But yeah, man, we had some. It was definitely a balance between big pop, radio, trying to have a few radio songs maybe that may work, or just kind of going completely with what we feel. And the album that we have now is what we feel.
It's a very deep album, too, just with what you talk about. Like, I had to go back and really analyze and listen and be like, all right, what's he talking about there? He's empowering. And early on, I mean, even our last interview when we did the TV show last year, you talked about how you weren't really going to talk political. And I don't think you really step in that realm, but you do talk about empowerment, a lot of different things. What would you say to the average person, if they don't know who Lupe is? What is Lupe about today in 2015? What do you want? What message do you want to send across as an artist?
I don't have one. To be honest. I don't think this album is for new Lupe fans. I don't think you can get this album and become a Lupe fan.
It's a good album. Just listen. I mean, I guess.
Album, but it's not meant for that. It's not meant to get you to come in and buy this. It's to satisfy something that I think kids were saying that they were missing the past 2 albums. Which were albums to go sell records. And not even Food and Liquor 2. Food and Liquor 2 was kind of like it was like, I want to get off Atlantic, and here's album number 4. And it was kind of like, on this one, as we leave and we get off this label, I'm going to give the fans what they want. I'm going to give them, because they don't think I can do it. It's like, I can do it all day. But it was still just kind of like, I don't really, there's no more agendas to push, and I said that on Food and Liquor 2. I was like, Food and Liquor 2 is plain, it's straight, that's what I believe. Whether you like the album or don't like it, like the message or dislike the message, if you want to know what I'm about, go play Food and Liquor 2. And that's it. And I'm never going to say it again. I'm never going to dumb it down again. I'm never going to keep it simple for you again. Like, that's the album if you want to know who Lupe is listen to that album. Listen to, Roses, or listen to like I can't even think of the name right now because I'm so caught up in this. But like, listen to Hood Now. That's what I feel genuinely.
Yeah.
You know, this is me just being artsy fartsy. You know, this is me getting my Picasso.
But you also are spreading those, like I guess we said, the messages of empowerment. Like you're still getting, I think, you know, those different messages out, even if it's not in the political system or political terms where you're not talking directly about those issues. I think there's those some underlying things that when people connect the dots.
You know, I have little communes with my peoples and my little inner circles. And, you know, we have long, drawn-out discussions about the world and life and things and how to position things. And it was like, you know, it's better to kind of just do things in principle, you know, and not do it directly. You know, don't tell people what to do. Don't even give them the gist, the ABCs of it. Just give them the principle. Like, be good to each other as an overriding principle, and then create through that. You know, don't give them instructions how to be good to each other. Just kind of present this generalized thing of like being good to each other is a good thing to do, you know, and whether you agree with it or not, whatever, but you know, it's better to have that than to it be this preachy, hey, you should do this XYZ, this is Area 51 and you shouldn't buy Coca-Cola because that is like all that shit played out, you know, and you get the most impact from just giving people the principles of life.
And I mean, you see a lot of artists talking about, you know, different things, and like you said, kind of preaching, saying their message, saying their thoughts. You've gotten into it with the numerous ones over the year. I mean, not just recently, but over the years. What would you have to say to them if you were sitting? Because I think there's a lot of miscommunication with things going on. But what would be your thoughts for other artists on what?
I don't have anything. I don't really have anything to say to anybody, and it's not a cop out.
Yeah,
because I speak my mind straight up, and I think everybody knows that. I think it's just that we're in a point in time now where, and I'm in a position in life through my various fellowships and different things, where I have not a completely new perspective of things, but a reinforced perspective that I always had, you know, which is this is how things should be, this is how things should go, and this is how you should carry yourself. And a lot of people just don't operate like that. You know, they don't come from the same backgrounds, they don't come from the same struggles, they're not gonna have the same outlooks on things, they don't have the same patience. Luckily, I think it's because I did karate when I was younger. We was fully immersed in the martial arts, where it was like patience and discipline and, you know, getting punched in the chest 16 times and don't move and then break this brick with your hand type situation. Where so you can put up with a lot of stuff and then go back to being in peace and not worried about it. And it's like a lot of people don't have the capacity to do that. So you can't give them the same lessons that you learned and expect them to carry on with the same way you do. And then they, you know, we got money, you know, it's different when you ain't got no money. You know, I feel dishonest trying to tell people how to live their lives when it's like, I don't have to worry about food or cars or car fare. I could fly to the edge of the world right now without a problem, but some people can't do that. Shoes and clothes and all this other stuff that we get for free, you know, people got to work 2-3 weeks to go get. So it's a different conversation. You know, so for me, it's more just like, just empathize with the other person. You know, empathize and try and put yourself in the other person's shoes and look at it from their point of view, you know, and that's really it. And then whatever, if you want to kill them after that or if you want to save them, you know, it's on you, you know.
Yeah, but do you take it personal when you see those artists saying things like, is that something that like really gets to you, or are you like?
Nah, Cudi's personal.
Cool? Okay.
That's personal. The Iggy shit is whatever. But the Cudi shit is personal. Okay. You know, it's like, you know, we homies.
Yeah.
I fuck with you.
Vice versa.
You can't, I don't care how fake this industry is. There's real people and solid, good people in this business who genuinely care for people. And it's not about money, it's not about fame, it's not about girls, it's not about jewelry or cars. It's about like, no, just people being good people to each other. You know, and when somebody breaks that, whether they know they're doing it or not, but when somebody breaks that kind of oath, you know, you feel a certain ways personally. But everything else is whatever. Misunderstandings from Freddie Gibbs to...
And I see how quick you will resolve some of these things too, which is cool. Which just shows that, like, I think it's a great influence, especially, I mean, we'll talk about Chicago in a second too. I mean, we all know the battlefield that's going on right there, but you show, hey, we can have a disagreement, but, you know, the next day or whatever, it's all good.
Yeah, so it has to be all good, you know, because, you know, I have a certain street element that runs through me, and my crew is all from the streets. And, you know, when shit happened in the streets, it's like, let's resolve this quickly.
Yeah.
You know, because there's no It's no good whether we finna lose money or somebody finna get hurt, or it's just finna create a bunch of nonsense that does not need to happen, especially if it's over something that can be resolved. You know, and most of the 99% of the problems in the world are resolvable, you know, when people take their pride out the way.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm quick to throw my pride on the floor, you know, whether it be with a Chief Keef or whomever. It's like, you know, bro, I love you to death.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the consequences for whatever are what they are, but genuinely, you know, I'll sidestep this and keep it moving for the sake of, I want to be at peace. I don't want to have to ride around strapped. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not cool, you know? So it becomes like, let's debt these situations as we can, and if we can reconcile, let's reconcile. You know, if we can do songs together, let's do songs together. You know, it's whatever is whatever. But it's certain things that are unforgivable. You know, and there's certain lines that you don't cross, you know, and certain things that are irresolvable, that 1%, and sometimes you have to deal with that how you need to deal with it.
Yeah. I think it's a good segue too to talk about kind of what's going on in Chicago. I mean, we've all seen how, I guess, this nation has come together under different instances. I mean, you have, you know, Mike Brown, all these different things going on. What's Chicago like right now from your perspective? I mean, you're from ground zero, you know, how is Chicago, how does Chicago react in all those circumstances too?
It's the same Chicago, man. Chicago hasn't changed. And I think that's surprising to certain people. Like, Chicago's been like that since the 80s. Yeah. You know, it's been like that since the 90s. It's actually kind of died down because a lot of the dudes who was really crazy and killers are either dead or in jail. Yeah. You know, so you actually have less crazy people on the street because they're dead. But Chicago's always had, and when I say always been like this, you've always had the crazy side of Chicago, the Chirac side, and you've also had the other side. You've had that you've always had common sense and nonsense. Yeah. You know, literally common sense the rapper, and then nonsense in the city, and they've always worked together and found a way to cohabitate and coexist. Yeah. And you got a blowout because of the internet, you know. So YouTube came out, and everybody's a star, and everybody's repping their hood, and then gangs come with that, and the stuff that's always been in Chicago just got to the forefront again. Yeah. But you know, there's a side to Chicago that's a very beautiful place. You know, I still live there. Yeah. I still frequent. I'm around by myself, chilling in the city. You know, I get love from all of the dudes, from Young Chop to Fredro to Chance to you know, to Vic Mensa. You know, it runs the gambit because that's the city. The city is this weird dual place of craziness mixed with some really good stuff that's going on too. So
I mean, I think people forget about all the different artists that come out of there. I mean, when you start talking about the negative side, you think of obviously all the gangsta stuff, but then you also forget about the Commons, I mean, even Chance, the Ye, like all these different things that have come about. What was it like seeing, you know, I know Chance has been outspoken, you know, supporting it. Like, what's it like seeing like this younger generation now come up kind of under you? What's it like out of the same city that you came from?
It's dope. It's dope to see Chance specifically because the level of skill that he has. You know, but then to also see like a Lil Durk, or to see like even a Lil Mouse, who just coming out of the bottom, you know, and trying to make something of themselves through this music, you know. It's good to just see that on all levels, you know, whether it just be from a live life level to like a technical rap skill ability level, what you see in a Chance or Vic Mensa. So no, it feels good.
It's great.
Feels good, especially to know that you're a part of that. That you like influence that. It's like
Now, another way you're helping others is your foundation, Lupe Fiasco Foundation.
Lupe Fiasco Foundation, which my sister Aisha runs, who's on the album. Shout to her. She does poems on the album, so she's on Prisoner. She's in between Prisoner 1 and Prisoner 2. Does like a little.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, that's my sister.
That's one of my favorite. That record's crazy, by the way, too.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That's a deep record on a lot of levels for me, dealing with my partner being locked up, you know, and I can't figure it out. You know, I can't tell his story, and it just kills me when I go see him, because it's like we're in prisoner land and visitor land, and it's like a weird place to be. You know, we got the free and the people who trap, some of them for life in the same room. It's crazy. I didn't want to get off subject though, but yeah, my sister, you know, we still do Lupe Fiasco Foundation. We just did like a bakery bake-off or something like that not too long ago. So she's always planning little events. So we got our first big gala coming up this year. Trying to raise a bunch of money and do some, you know, finance some more of the little projects we do in the city. Yeah. So yeah, man, it's still going.
That's awesome, man. Good for you. Now let's go back to this record because I want to talk about a couple of Prisoner 1 and 2. So I felt there's like you're talking about, for those that haven't heard, that'll hear tomorrow when it comes out. You talk about two different prisoners. Now, is this about, obviously, you know, we've talked about your partner, but it also talks about like corporations and people in power, I feel like, and some breaking some of those stereotypes and kind of the way, I mean, you go deep. I had to keep listening to this record. I mean, I guess you've got to...
There are songs on this album that have 5 narratives running at the same time. Like Little Death has like so many different pieces running through it. And Prisoner's the same way. It's a little bit more basic than that, but you know, you tell a story of a prisoner and the person who's the guard, you know, who keeps the prisoners. And you know, how do their lives interact? And that at a certain point, they're the same. You know, they're both trapped. You know, and both have these kind of, whether they be delusions of grandeur or delusions of inferiority or superiority or whatever, mastery over their environment. You know, there's trying to capture that in a song, it immediately turns into all these different facets. So it speaks to my personal struggles at Atlantic. You know, it speaks to my personal struggles, you know, dealing with my partner Chili, you know, who's in prison. And my brother just went to prison. He just went to the feds in January. January is actually the day I went to Australia. He went to prison.
What's that feel like? Like this one day you're going to literally the opposite end of the earth. The other is just going to the opposite end of the earth at the same time. Like, what does that feel like? Like, that's got to be the weirdest.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It'll. Sometimes you can't explain it. It's hard to put it into words.
I mean, I guess that's why you make it.
People see one life, and there's just a certain level of expectation, but then they don't see the other stuff that you're going through that's really real. You know, where it's like your homies are still getting killed, and your homies are still getting locked up. There's still indictments. There's still lawsuits, there's still this, there's still that that's going on in the midst of like, hey everybody, I'm Lupe Fiasco and I want to rap about Tabasco. Like all that shit is still going on behind the scenes. You know, it's weird, you know, and I pray nobody ever has to go through anything like that. You know, to have these weird things, have this so much success balanced out by so much, you know, failure. You know, and it comes back to Lupe Fiasco. You know, it's all a great success, but his name is a disaster.
When you walk between all those worlds, there's obviously, like you said, you can go anywhere you want, anytime, kind of get whatever you want, but it's still got to be tough knowing that there's others that can't, and a lot of people can't see that and never will.
Yeah, some of them never will, man. And it's at the same time too, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard decisions that have to be made. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I sacrificed to get here, to make this, you know.
I mean, think of how many people since, I guess, the first album dropped are still, how many things have changed around that? How's the industry, how's the world changed?
Life's changed. You know, every album is for me is except for maybe Food and Liquor 2, which is probably a little bit more stable. Life was a little stable. But Food and Liquor, The Cool, you know, my father passed away, that was crazy. And then, you know, you have my partner Chili my partner Chili has like never held any of my albums. You know, we built this together. It says like executive produce Free Chili and Lupe Fiasco. Like we built First and 15th up together. You know, he's the first, I'm the 15th kind of a situation. And you know, there's turmoils and pain and struggles and all that. Lasers was crazy. You know, Lasers is so much.
You've been through so much stuff, dude.
You know, and then you take this album, you know, an album that wouldn't have been out if a group of hackers wouldn't have got together and was like, yo, put it out or else. You know, interview style. It was like, oh man, you know, life is crazy. But to have that type of support, but then at the same time too, you know that your man, 50 grand, can't be with me tomorrow to celebrate not only a release from the label, but our 5th album, you know, and it's a great album kind of release, you know, it's like, it's bittersweet.
Do you feel like all those things that you've gone through, all the negatives, it's brought all this music together like that? Do you feel like your music would be different and maybe not as good if you didn't have to go through a lot of those circumstances? Like it's that one.
I've always been nice, Ski.
I know you're nice, but you wouldn't be able to rap about some of these deep things and circumstances that you've been through if it was all. It's like weird. Like I always feel like sometimes all the negative stuff happens so you can show, and it gives you that experience and emotion to pull from, and you can show others how to get through that are going through that. I mean, is that looking back? I mean, of course you never want any of those things to happen, but
it's never worth it. If I could have all my people's back, all my homies back, fuck rap. You know what I'm saying? Fuck these albums. I'm always be creative. Always been creative. I used to write before I was rapping as a little kid and coming up and having little stories to tell and thinking about weird things and philosophies and blah 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 blah. And it just so happened I got a platform to channel it through music and was able to do it. Able to actually pull it off and it not come out weird. But man, if some of the things there's certain songs I wish I never had to make, that people love. And it's a weird thing to be like, man, I made this song because this is what I do. I rap and make music. That's all I do. And I write about what's real and talk about what's real. And I hate to make songs like that. I hate to make songs like Beautiful Lasers and Fighters. I don't want to make shit like that, I want to make songs like Prisoner 2, Prisoner 1 and 2. I don't want to make that. I don't want to make Janala Forever.
But then we talk about how they're some of the favorite records on the album.
Yeah,
it's crazy how I guess it invokes that real.
It's that bittersweetness, man. It's that, I live life empathizing. I live life in 4 pair of shoes. His pair of shoes, my pair of shoes, his pair of shoes, and his pair of shoes. And try and see life and tell these stories from everybody's position. It's like my gift and my curse. Because I can do it and really do it, but then because I have to do it, is fucked up,
What's the most misunderstood thing about Lupe Fiasco?
People think I'm a bitch.
But you do. I mean, I do see the Twitter. I see you retweeting that a lot, but whoa.
No,
but you're not.
I'm just joking, man. I'm just joking. No, I'm not though.
No, you're not. I know you retweet all that stuff all the time.
No, but I think the most. I think people think I just do it for show, or I just do it to get attention. When I'm like the person who's the most low key, out the way. You never see me at a club. Yeah. You'll never see me in certain spots or certain positions. I don't go to All-Star Weekend like I used to, but like I'm like at the crib, painting like a nerd, And I think when I do finally say something, everything that comes out my mouth is so well thought out and so planned, and has a purpose. It's everything I say is intentional. And so it becomes like people just think it's off the hip or whatever. Or like, oh, he just shooting shots at what's face because he's trying to put his album out. Or he just shooting shots because he needs to sell his t-shirts. Or he needs to shoot da-da-da. He beefing with da-da-da. And it's like, yo, y'all know I did that song 3 years ago? Yeah. And people tripping off a song that I did 3 years ago, that just shows you you're not really listening. Yeah. And then it was like, well, I'm going to just stop talking.
So much nonsense. And that's what you said. You literally went on Twitter, and I remember a couple days ago you tweeted that you don't like dealing with the public, you have to do it for the promotion, but now you kind of want to fall back into the shadows. Yeah. Is that what's gonna happen in your next
I'm already
steps?
there. I've been in the shadows for like 6 months.
It's true.
I've been kind of like slowly, I remember Jay-Z told me, he's like, yo, grand opening. He put it in a rap, but it was like, we was in the studio and he was like, yo, when you grand open, you got a grand close. He's like, you got a grand open, you got a grand, I mean, you got to like the same level of thought and preparation that you went into coming out and opening things up. You got to put the same level of thought into letting it all go. You got to have the I's dotted and the T's crossed and the bank account and the lawyer and the such and such, and you got to have all that thing laid out, the passports, you got to have everything laid out on the table, so when it's time to go, you go. So I've been kind of putting myself in a position to step.
So is this the Jay-Z retirement though? You're done after, I mean, I guess he was...
No. We entering a new phase. This is like, this is like album, this is, you know, this represents a lot to me. I've been holding it since I got it. I was busy. I grabbed the album and let it go since I got it.
Yeah, I couldn't even touch it.
Because it's like, except to give it to my little man to take a picture.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is like a transition for me. You know, this is like a, you know, this is what I do well. You know, for all of the doubting, for all of the hearsay, for all of the, you know, the negativity and the misunderstandings and everything else, like, this is what I do. Yeah. You know, and now that I was able to put this into the world, you know, the next thing that I'm gonna do is gonna be even greater. Yeah. You know, because there's gonna be more freedom. It's not even gonna be no record label attached to the back of it, you know? Yeah. So it's an exciting thing for me, but it's a transition. So there's more music coming. Yep. I already got 3 albums planned out, you know? Wow. So it's, you know, there's more coming. There's more to come.
You seem so excited about this.
I'm happy, man.
I haven't seen you this happy.
This is a brilliant thing for me, real. And I just got off plane from Australia. You just flew like 15 hours.
Dude, how are you even awake?
You know, because of this. It's like a battery in my back, man. You know, so.
What's your goal with this album? Is it to, I mean, obviously I know you're excited about one element, that it's fulfilling certain obligations. But beyond that, do you want this to be something that everybody listens to and hears? Or are you just like, man, I'm glad it's out. This was a labor of love. What's your ultimate goal for this project? What will you judge this project as a success by? I guess just being out is probably.
I have no expectations. Okay. And I think that was getting back to that zero. You know, I have no expectation. I don't care what it sells. Mm-hmm. I don't care about the reviews. The 16 have already spoke their piece, so I'm good.
So how many of the 16, how many of them, what's the collective? So 16 out of 16.
16 so you're good. Out of 16 is good. You know, I'm good. There's nothing else for me to prove. There's nothing else for me to say. Yeah. You know, you have to prove. Now the people who were the doubters and whatever, they got to prove why they don't like it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because now everybody's looking at them crazy. It's like, what, because his hair? Yeah. Or his shoes now? Or his hat? Or because he said something about such and such? Or his Twitter? Or he's not on Twitter? You want to be on Twitter like that? Because you can't touch this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And not out of ego, just out of like, I know that I've put something out that was solid. Yeah. And that's enough for me.
Speaking of Twitter, we're getting a lot of people talking about that, and I just want you to clarify a couple things first, too, because I know you tweeted something that you were tweeting a bunch of lines. You said something about Martin Luther King, and everybody took it the wrong way, and of course retweeted that over.
Yeah, that's what people do.
Everything else, of course, that's what the media does. Yeah. They take one quote, it might not necessarily be in context. So, what would you say to those people that are, you know, saying, "Oh, what's Lupe talking about? Didn't he just diss Martin Luther King Jr.?"
Nothing.
Yeah. Go back and read the whole thing.
Figure it out.
Now, what's the hashtag? What was it about Kendrick? Be more like Kendrick?
Be more like Kendrick Lamar. I'll do that. I did that a lot. If you really follow me on Twitter and not just kind of wait for me to say something that you disagree with, you'll see I do like some really dope stuff on Twitter. And that's why a lot of kids are like, nah, don't leave, man, because the real dope shit that you be doing outweighs all the nonsense that people be talking about. So every now and again, I would do like a hashtag like, be more like Elon Musk. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So kids who don't know who he is would be like, yo, who is Elon Musk? And why should I be more like him, Lupe? It's like, yo, find out. Trust.
Yeah, that dude's.
You know? And then there's certain people who just, you know, I really adore Kendrick, man. I really adore him and what he does and how he does his things. And it was just kind of like, I could never say that. I wouldn't say it. You know, just out of a point of just like being done with trying to tell people what to do. Yeah. I would never say that. And to see my man come up and say, yo, this is what I believe, right or wrong, this is what I believe and I'm gonna say it. Yeah. Because everybody else is bandwagoning behind some type of quasi-political, philosophical black power bullshit. And for somebody to come out and really speak that there's the elephants in the room and say it, it's like, yo, be more like him. Don't be like these niggas, because these niggas ain't about shit. Be like him. You know, and be like this guy. Be like Robert McNamara. Be like, watch Fargo War and be like Robert McNamara for a couple of days, you know. So it wasn't nothing loaded to it, you know, it's just showing my support for the homie.
So if you had to be more like one person yourself, who is that? Is that Elon? Is that, so I mean, I want to go to Mars too.
Oh man, I wish I don't know. I wish I could be like this unknown Buddhist monk who's just sitting in the temple right now, knowing he has to beg for his food tomorrow, he's not going to eat, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be like. Don't need nothing in life. Don't want for nothing in life.
So
just kind of exist.
Can you get to that point? I mean, it's tough once you have the things and you get all that. Like, can you realistically, like, it's almost tougher to go backwards sometimes. Is that what you ultimately really wanted? Like, is that what you really want?
My homies be making fun of me, or like people will come to the crib and they'll see like all of the stuff I got and be like, yo man, you got like 700 pairs of shoes. And it's like, yeah, but I wore all of those shoes on stage, you know, or I wore that for a video shoot, or I got that for this, you know, concert, or I got this for this, or I got that for that. It's not just me getting it just to have 700 pairs of shoes and 17 leather jackets and 80 sweaters and da-da-da-da. It's like everything in there is like from a photo shoot. And then it struck me like, wow, it is. It's an occupational hazard. You know, it's one of those things.
Tax deduction.
You know, it is what it is. So, but it's not. And then I'll turn around and wear, they'll be washed, but I'll wear the same 4 or 5 different pair of camouflage pants for 6 months.
Yeah.
Take them off, throw them in the washing machine, put them back on, keep them moving.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm still questioning myself to see if I'm as full of myself as it may seem.
You'll see, it's going to be now you're doing it yourself, kind of. And what's the next steps? 2015, the album. It's out.
Oh man, we got we got offers. You know, shout out to all the folks who.
Here's my thing. I can't see you going back. We know your history. There's no way you're gonna do a record deal again, right? Like, or do we never know?
There was my first 2 record deal. My second record deal was great. The CEO, shout out to L.A. Reid when he's at Arista. He was a beautiful dude, man. Showed us a lot of love. Mark Pitts showed us a lot of love. Daryl Jones showed us a lot of love when he was at Arista. When we went to Atlantic, it was like, okay, first album, cool. But when it came time to do 360s and all this bullshit got thrown in the game, it became like a living hell. And it was kind of like, I'm not averse to record companies. I'm averse to Atlantic Records, you know. But you know, there's some really nice guys. And I've had people tell me like, yo man, this ain't CEOs. Yeah. Like, yo, this ain't how all record labels are. This ain't how all situations are. You know, so don't get too caught up and beat down on yourself. You in a really fucked up spot. You know, but there's people who really love you and care for you, you know, really. You know, who are CEOs of this company and that company and love what you say and the things that you say and will stand behind what you say and not get away from you or leave you to the dogs when the shit goes bad or leave you out there bad when a record don't work, and they won't step up and say, well, read a reason the record didn't work. Yeah. Because we knew Lupe shouldn't have rapped on it, and we knew we weren't gonna push it at radio, and we knew we weren't gonna give him the budget, all that shit. Like, so you know, we'll see. Yeah. I like indie land. I like my freedom though. You know, good. It feels good to just kind of chill for a minute. But there's definitely heavy business going on behind the scenes too to see what that next thing could possibly be.
When did you know this album was actually coming out?
The day that the whole thing went down with Anonymous. My partner Chill called me and was like, yo, you know, 10 a.m. I called Busy. I was like, Busy, did you just see what Anonymous just said? He was like, oh shit.
And for those that don't know, what did they say exactly?
There's like, put Lupe Fiasco's album out or we're hacking the label, all the executives and employees and any subsidiary partners attached to Atlantic Records. And so on and so forth. And at about like, that happened at like 10 in the morning. They said they had 24 hours. At about 5:30, I get a call from prison. Shout out to Chili Chill. Chill's like, yo, they're gonna tweet at 6 o'clock the release date. All you gotta do is retweet it. That's it. And I sat in the car. I was in front of my mom's house, like, ah!
Wait, so I think this is just awesome too, the fact that Chili's negotiating from behind.
Oh, that's what he do. That's how we get in.
I don't even want to step on any of those toes. This is like a movie or something.
That's how we do. When you listen to the, and I can't get out of the way. Let me stop.
Get the album.
Let me stop. Get the album. Yeah.
Anything last that you want to say to all the fans watching across the world, all the people here?
Man, I appreciate the love everywhere you are. Shout out to all my fans in Australia that showed me, Nelly, and B.O.B. so much love on the tour we just wrapped up there. You know, this is the album. You know what it is. Don't let nobody tell you different. I stand behind it 1,000%. You know, it's one of my, you know, it just means a lot to me, you know, and musically, creatively, as a man, you know, in my business affairs, to my fans, my family, it just means a lot. So it's a lot in this record. That's not even a spiel to get you to go buy the shit. You know, it's just like, it is what it is. And, you know, I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy it, and there's a lot to it, you know, so put on your thinking caps, go in a nice dark room every so often and just put it on, let it play all the way through, and, you know, have fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Lupe Fiasco. Thank you all. Congratulations, man. Thank you all for tuning in and watching from all across the globe. We'll be back soon, and enjoy the album now that it's out. It's here. It's time.
And it's I probably got like 4 more interviews.
4 more interviews. You're done? Wait, so no more interviews?
Yeah.
Thank you for coming down here too. This kind of all happened last second,
I picked out the people. I was like, I gotta do him.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I'm humbled. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Welcome anytime. One more time, Lupe Fiasco. Tetsuo Youth out now. We'll see you next time.